Today, our discussion is around attracting and retaining talent. And just to start us off, I want to ask you guys, what is the expectation from this interaction? When you saw this training, attracting and retaining talent, what was your expectation? And what are you hoping that at the end of this all you're going to achieve? Kindly, let's engage. Anyone, it's open. What is your expectation? Anyone who don't volunteer? There's Faith. Faith, you have something? What is your expectation?
I'd say to understand how to treat and reward our employees to make sure they don't leave, and to ensure that we get the right people into the organization, as well as being us ourselves being the people who are retained and attracted by other people.
Awesome, awesome. To understand how to treat our employees, how to get the right people, and how to be treated right.
Hakuandika number to be seen.
Collins, kindly.
Aliandika to plain.
Collins, kindly help me mute you.
A sales assistant for IY, one is DF for account assistant.
Okay, sorry for that. Kindly let's mute unless you're contributing, so at least we're able to have one way communication at least, so that we don't get in the mix. So thank you so much, Faith. Anyone else who'd want to give us another expectation? Anybody else? Judy? There's Judy, there's Collins, Muthoni. Yvonne? Anything on what your expectation is for this training?
I would say maybe to learn how to get the right, like what the person we talked earlier, to get the right people, and maybe get more knowledge on how to retain and avoid having high turnovers at the workplace.
Okay, thank you, Yvonne. To learn how to get the right people and how to retain talent at our workplace, so at least we can reduce on our turnovers very, very well. If you allow me, we can go with those expectations, and I believe all of us have a unit of purpose. And this, when you hear about attracting and retaining talent, these are the things that come up in our minds. So I will go by showing you our objectives or what we hope to achieve in this training. So the first objective is how to use job analysis and design to ensure that the requirements for the role are clearly defined and appropriate to the needs of the business. And this is where we come to the attraction. When you're attracting that person, do they know what they're coming to do? Or do you attract somebody comes to a position expecting to perform these responsibilities, but when they come, it's totally different. And like I always tell people, there is a sentence that most job descriptions will have that says any other assignment that may be assigned to you. And you find most people, if your job analysis is not well crafted or well designed, what happens is that most of the times people perform any other duties because nothing is on their job description. So that is very, very key. So we're going to look at it to see what can we do to ensure that as we are placing up our adverts, as we are sourcing people, how will we ensure that we have the right job analysis, and how do we design it for it to be able to attract the right talent or the right people? The other one is how we use proactive sourcing strategies, such as social networking to find candidates. You agree with me, recruitment is really evolving, and gone are those days that you go through 1,000,001 CVs. So we're going to look at those sourcing strategies so that we can be able to ensure that we get the right people. Because you agree with me that in the day we are today, you cannot afford to be part of the social media. And when I talk about social media, of course, we know we have very different forums of social media. We have the social ones, the entertaining ones, but we also have the social media in terms of the professional networks. So that's what I'm talking about. So how do we use those strategies are there that we can use to be able to attract a good talent? Also, we are going to define the key attraction and retention strategies for multi-generational organizations. You agree with me? In most organizations currently, you'll find that you have different kind of generations that you're working with, and different kinds of jobs or responsibilities will require you to have a different, maybe I would say, generation. So how do you attract them? Because the way you attract a generation Z or baby boomer is not the same way you're going to attract the current, the generation Z, the millennials, so it's different. So what are these strategies that you can put in place to ensure that you're able to attract the people that you're looking for? The interviewing methods to get the best out of the selection process. What methods are you using? Because also interviewing, they say the interview process is a fast interaction. They say the first impression. So how the interview process is taken, the interview methods that you're using are the first interactions that you're having with this prospective talent. So what are these methods? Do you have those processes that are like 10 processes? By the time somebody is on their 9th process, they're even fatigued, What methods are you using? Are you I believe based also based on their responsibility or on the role, because different interview models will be used on different roles. But if you're interviewing maybe for a role that maybe is like for the management trainee, I believe the way you're going to conduct it, because this is somebody you're looking at becoming like a manager or getting into leadership, is not the same kind of interview method you're going to have for someone maybe who is already established. Maybe you're looking for a head of a department. I mean, it's different. So what methods are you using? Because the interview, like I said earlier, is a first interaction that this person is having with the organization. And the impression you give during interview, I'm sure you've gone through a very, very robust interview process, gotten your best candidate, given them the best offer that you could, even to some extent, even going beyond the limits of your budget. And they still turn down the offer. They tell you, I'm sorry. And maybe they'd even say they'll get it. In most cases, there's something that they may have seen. Okay, most people say maybe they got a counter offer from the other side, but in most cases, there's something they pick up and they're like, wow, do I want to be really part of this organization? So the interview is very, very important when we come to retaining the talent. Then we also need to understand the real cost of turnover and the impact of motivators in the workplace. Do you, as a HR person, sit down and ask yourself, what is this cost of the turnover? And I tell people it's a very simple thing. If you're interviewing for a very senior management position, look at the people who are seated on that table. Try and evaluate and see how much time in terms of the hour, the man hours that you're spending. Look at the time that you take in terms of drafting the job advert, the job analysis, all that, that is how you look at the cost, the turnover. How many people, how much, how is it? And do you have like a projected turnover? Because of course it's anticipated that people will leave, but is it within your acceptable level, But some of us, we really don't have it. Like people are leaving, we don't. And at times maybe you panic and you're like, wow, people are leaving. But when you look at it and you have the right metrics, you realize, oh, by the way, I think we're still within our turnover percentage. So it's very important that we understand Because apart from, if you don't understand this, then it becomes very difficult for us to really see the seriousness of it, you know, because if at times you find there's a department, if somebody leaves and things change, you know, by the time maybe they have the organizational, you know, we call it the organizational history, they have so much that they know this, so the processes, so all that cost, there's a cost in it, you know, so there's a cost in terms of money, there's a cost in terms of time, in terms of the intellectual, you know, all the minds that you have to put in place. So it's very important for us to understand the cost of the turnover and the impact of motivators in the workplace. So having given that as the objectives for this series, and I believe that from the expectations that we got from Yvonne and the Faith, they are covered. And what I will request is that as I interact, my expectation also is that we are going to interact. It's two-way, because like I said, in adult learning, we more of interact. And for me, it's more of moderating, because some of these things, we know them, is just a reminder. So I go to the first objective, which is about the job analysis. And briefly, I will... and maybe before I go to that, let's first understand what is talent acquisition. Yeah, because we're talking about talent, and I'm sure most of us, when you hear about talent, and especially I would say from where I come from, before when this terminology talent started appearing in the HR forums and the HR, you know, like the way it comes and and I remember the first time I was in a place and I was asked, what is talent? And since I hadn't really interacted with the term, for me, I thought talent, you know, like when we grew up, there was those dancers, those people who are doing music, those people who are actors, you know, and that's what I thought. I never thought talent can be used to the human resource. So I know most of us those days battled with that, but now we all understand that talent is about the employees that we have. So it's very important that we get that definition correct. And that's why we're saying that the talent acquisition is a strategic approach to identifying, attracting, and onboarding top talent to efficiently and effectively meet dynamic business needs. And the keywords there, I would want us to pause and ask ourselves, when we recruit, do we have a strategic approach, or we just go by what is available? Because one of the key things is to ensure that you have a strategic approach. And this strategic approach will help you in identifying. You identify, you attract. And it's unfortunate, but I think most of us are very good at attracting and identifying. But when it comes to their own bonding, then we stop. And that's why you hear someone saying, wow, for me, it was baptism by fire, you know? I had to learn myself around the organization. So how is this person within the first 30 days or within the first 90 days? Are you working with them? How is the onboarding process? Do you have an induction program in place, you know? Because that is the only way a person gets to understand the organization. That is the only way you get to sell your culture to this person. That's the only way you get to sell your values. Because what happens is when somebody is very new in an organization, or a talent is very new in an organization, it's like a white page. Yep. So whatever you write, whatever you feel on that page is what is going to be embedded in them. So when you don't have a good onboarding process, what happens is they'll be meeting people as they're going for lunch. And of course, you know, in all organizations, you'll always have people who are very negative, and they always they're like, hey, oh, gosh. You know, they'll always give those negative things about the organization that I know if you're not the first one, that position has had like 5 people, you know, those, I call them negative energy. So how is your onboarding process? Is this person welcomed? Is this person taken through the process? Do they understand the corporate identity? Do you take them through the vision of your organization? Do they understand the objectives of this organization? Because that is the only way they're going to be able to participate efficiently and effectively to meet the business dynamic needs. Do they even understand what needs are there? Or they come in, you hand them over to their department, and you're like, okay, Then after that, the only time you'll see that person is maybe when you're doing your payroll and you realize they didn't give you the ID, they didn't give you their NSSF, or that's when you look for them after a whole month, you know. Onboarding should be immediately this person comes in. And I always encourage people where it is possible, because of course, different organizations have different dynamics. But good practice is that when this person comes, they should be with the HR people, maybe for 1 or 2 days, especially if it has those very senior positions, at least 1 or 2 days. So at least they get to understand your culture. They get to understand the policies, you know. You take them through the policies, you take them through everything, the gaps that you feel that you don't want this person to come and fill in. If this person is maybe not at the very, maybe lower level, middle level, a day. Then from there, let them understand all the departments, have an induction program, and let them go to their department on the last day, maybe after a week, you know. It's good to introduce them the first day, but let them go to their department after they've gone around, they've understood what HR does, they understand what finance does, they understand what marketing does, they understand what operations does, they understand what every other department does, because that is part of onboarding. That is part of them understanding what this organization is all about, you know, because the moment they go to their department and they start now working, they start, of course, maybe if this position has been vacant for some time, as a supervisor, you can't wait for this person to come and you start giving them responsibilities. So when they go there, they start their work, you know, but they don't understand. So that is very, very important, onboarding. And I tell people, the key failure, or what makes most organizations fail in terms of retaining good talent, is the onboarding process. So kindly always review and ask yourself, how is our onboarding process? I hope you are clear up to there. Any question? In case you have any question, you can lift your hand and look at the chat, or in case I'm not able to see the chat, just unmute and ask a question and I'll pause, and I'll be more than willing to engage. Okay. Any question regarding the definition for talent acquisition, or anyone who has a different view or any input that they would want to add on that, on talent acquisition? Okay. So if we have no question on that, then I want us to ask ourselves, like I said earlier, initially when I heard about talent for the first time, and this is true, when I had it, I actually thought about musicians. I never thought it could be anything like in a professional way, you know. So now, in case you're like me, and maybe you're asking yourself, or maybe someone will come and ask you, know, people come and they'll ask you, oh, you guys are talking about talent. So what is talent? Who is a good talent in the office? So these are what we're going to look at. And we have like 10 points for us to be able to understand who is a talented employee. And the first one is great employees get the insertions right. Yeah. A talented, or an employee that we can call key talent, is an employee who gets the essentials right. And what are these essentials? Very basic things. You know, they'll come to work on time. You'll never get them late. They go for lunch. If it's 1 hour, they'll go even for 45 minutes. They adhere to the organization rules during their time at workplace. They're the people who even their phones, you'll never find them on their phones. They're organized. They're very good in terms of time management, like I said earlier. They can work around computers and softwares. Like, you know, nowadays computers, IT is almost anyone who cannot maybe even type, you know. Basics, you know, just that basic employee, that person that you'll never get them on the wrong side. If things go wrong, they'll never be on that side. They're always getting the basic right. You introduce a new policy, they are the ambassadors. Yeah, so that is an example of a great, talented employee. The other thing is they get the job done. You agree with me? There's some employees who are very good at saying so much, but when you give them an assignment, it becomes a problem. So for talented employees, they're very good. They'll get the job done, and they have the attitude, the right attitude. We are told everything is about attitude. And I was listening. I love listening and reading books. And I think one of the things that I've picked in most of the books, and especially the motivational books and videos and audios, is that everything to be right, attitude. Any area of your life that is not going right, if you look at your attitude and you change it and have the right attitude, things will go on right. So this employee will get their job done. They'll never complain. Yeah. They ensure that whatever job you've given them, they'll not start saying, no, yesterday, last week, they'll always have the right attitude. They believe, wow, I'm going to achieve it. Note, they're not workaholics by any means. A good talent is not that employee who works from 8 to morning, always on their computers. No, that is not a definition of a good talent. They're not workaholics, but they get the job done. You won't see them crunched over their desk, crunching numbers the whole day or something like that. No, but they're result oriented. So I tell people working, you can work hard and working smart. This talented employee or talent, the kind of employee we're talking about, or the kind of employee that you'd want to attract is that employee who works smart. Yeah, they get their jobs done. They try to do more than simply what their job description asks them to do. These are the good employees that do their job description, what they're asked to do. However, they go above and beyond their job. And they do more than simply what the contract asks them to do, even if they're not getting paid for it. These are the people, they'll find you struggling with an assignment and they're like, oh, can I give you a hand? And they do it willingly, with a positive attitude. You want to put a committee in place and you're like, can I have volunteers, 3-4 people who can help work on this task? They'll be like, wow, I want to volunteer. They'll always do more. And whatever they're doing does not compromise their main role or their main responsibilities. They'll still do what is expected of them, but they'll go over and above and assist others. They'll be in committees. They'll come up with great innovative ideas without complaining, because most people complain. The talent that we're looking for, or what we're talking about, is that those employees who form excellent relationships with their superiors, co-workers, and their peers. I'm sure you've seen some employees who don't talk to anyone in the office. It is me, I, and myself. Yeah. Well, it is debatable because we also have the personality issue. There are those people is like, I'm an introvert. However, how do I relate? How is my relationship with the superiors? How is my relationship with my co-workers? And how is my relationship with my peers? A talented person, a good talent, like we're talking about. And I always say all of us are talents. So these are the things that we also want to embrace as good employees or good identified talent wherever we're working. Have positive relations with everyone. You don't want to see when you see a senior person working this way, you change your route. Okay. The other thing is that they're very good team players because they're very good with the peers. The relationships are good and they'll be part of the team and as team leads and get most out of their team. Because I tell people, especially if you're at a leadership or a supervisory position, you are what you are. You're defined by your team. What you achieve is not your achievement, is your team. So these good employees or these talented people that we're talking about, they're excellent team players. You'll never have issues with them. They have a winning attitude. Yeah, meaning they're able to collaborate with their teammates and they create a wonderful synergy to get the best out of their team. Yeah, if it is a supervisor, if it is a head of department, a head of section, they know how to motivate their teams. And you'll find even in our work areas, there are times people say, wow, okay, you guys, I really love the way you people work. You guys you're always laughing, you're always together. I mean, it's not automatic. It is because people work on it to build teams because they have a winning attitude and they believe they want to win together. And I want to pause there and ask ourselves, Wherever we work, in our work areas, whatever sector we are, when we talk about being good team players, this is my definition. What is your feel in terms of an employee who is not a good team player? What happens to them? How can you define them? An employee who is not a good team player. Anyone who don't volunteer, Emma? Or anyone else can volunteer? Rispa?
Sorry, I just got in. I was having a bit of an issue, so I didn't quite get your question.
No worries.
Mhm.
I'm going to repeat it for you. Don't worry, it's okay. I was asking, we are defining the qualities of a good employee, or what it takes to be, when you talk about the talent, who is this talented employee? And one of the qualifications or one of the attributes is being a good team player. So my question is, who is not a good team player? If you're told, who is, you know, you always talk about be a good team player, but my question now is on the reverse. Who is this? Who is not a good team player? Maybe even in your office, you have people and people say, this person, see team players, you know. So who is this? How do you define a person who is not a team player? I hope that is clear, Rispa.
Yes, it is. I'm thinking about it. As part of a team, you get yourself in situations that require everyone to put their hands on the table, like to contribute. And sometimes, especially when there's a crisis, you'll find someone lagging back, especially if the fault, or they assume the fault wasn't theirs. So when everyone else is chipping in to try and avert a crisis, one person is dragging back. That would be my description.
Awesome. I agree totally. So they lag back and they start saying, I don't see the reason, I don't know why, you know, they just complicate. And maybe it is part of something that we had agreed that in case things happen, this is how we are going to deal with it. But when it's not the actual situation presents itself, now they start changing. So thank you so much, Rispa, for that. Caroline, thank you for the message. She's saying one who is not reliable, does not communicate or give feedback. Awesome. I love that. Does not communicate. You guys have a meeting at 9. This person, maybe they're even the ones who are maybe driving the agenda. They don't even say they're coming late. So you're there in a meeting, you wait for this person for 30 minutes, 1 hour, and they come. Oh, and to you, if they remember to apologize for being late, and they'll just come and they just say, you know, they'll start giving excuses as to why they were late, but they'll never apologize. Yeah, people who don't give feedback. Very, very true. You're a team. Maybe things are not going right, and especially for us or for people who are in the leadership. You're there saying that their team, they're not team players, but maybe don't give them feedback. Maybe it's an assignment. Somebody is giving their best, but for you, as a supervisor, you're like, could Irene do better than this? You don't give them feedback. So what you do, you go and start talking it. You know, in the office, you always have those office buddies. So you go start talking about it. You know, Irene did this. So someone gets to Irene, you know. And so what happens to Irene is like, I mean, really, even if I was the best team player in that group, what will happen? I'll be like, really? You can come and tell me? So you start breaking that team. Feedback is very important, especially in teams. Let's give each other feedback. Whereby one of us, and feedback is both ways. I've seen leaders who will never give positive feedback. They will never, ever, ever tell somebody, wow, that was good. That was great, Irene. You did a good job. Rispa, your hand is up?
Yes, just thinking about it. I think I've been lucky enough to work in an online or a virtual world for some time now. And because we don't all see each other, we don't know what we look like or what everyone else does. You just know, and sometimes you have to rely on work from someone else to be able to complete yours. The definition of a good team player for us, or a good employee, or any of the other positive things, boils down to attitude. When you work with people you can't see, or people you can't meet, or people you'll never even know if they're real, everything comes down to attitude. Do they have a good attitude about this? Then they are good. It at some point someone overlooks skill and just looks at attitude, because if you have the right attitude, then you're willing to chip in.
I agree totally. Your father reminds me about some article, I think, was it on yesterday's paper or Thursday's paper, whereby the GM of East African Toyota had written an article regarding good skill and attitude, and they were saying that you can have the best skills, but if your attitude is wrong, trust me, you cannot go anywhere. So I agree with you, Rispa. Yes, attitude is very, very important. And I can imagine, especially when you have to work online with people that you never know who it is, it's just a computer, you know. So if you don't have the right attitude, be like, nobody can even see me. So attitude, I agree, is very, very important. Okay. There's someone who has logged in as Infinix. So maybe if you kindly change and put your name, it's always easier for interaction. They say someone who is not a team player will always find it hard to meet his or her target. Exactly. Because they're always busy doing other things, but whatever they're supposed to do, they hardly achieve. Thank you. I'm reading on the chat. They don't share information, especially if they're in the organization longer. Exactly. They feel, that is Hannah. Thank you, Hannah. They feel that sumenipata hapa, you should be knowing, you know. So they feel that is like their card, you know, that's how they play it. Yet they're supposed to be team players because they're supposed to learn. And I tell people, if you don't pass that knowledge, then how do you expect it to be? Because even for you, somebody else passed it over to you. So it's always it's like a relay. This one comes up to this point, then you also pass it over. So I agree with you. Some people are very, very mean, and you will struggle on a document, struggle. Then after you've struggled, someone comes and says, oh, but I thought, Irene, you have that information. And they'll even pretend that they even didn't know you're looking for it. So I agree with you. We have these people in the office, and all we can do is just pray for them and give them feedback so that they can be able to make our life easier. Caroline, watches when things are going wrong will never have your back. Awesome. They see very well you're getting into the ditch, and they're like, wow, wacha tuone najifanyanga, wacha tu, you know, they celebrate. When they know even you're going to see maybe the boss and they know very well things are not well, they're just watching, you know, and they're waiting for you. And they're like, wow, today it was a hard day, you know. Surely those are people who are not good team players. They work in silos and they don't want to collaborate with the other team members. They don't have team accountability. Absolutely. They feel either they're more superior or they're more informed. Some of them feel like, we're not on the same level, you know. Like you said, if somebody has been in an organization for long, they're like, I don't have time for you guys, you know. Thank you, Soba. That is from Soba. Yes, they work in silos and they'll have some groups. And you find in one team, you have like 3 silos. So you can imagine, though you find like some leaders, and at times they challenge leaders, they're the ones who create these silos. You know, like they say, divide and rule. So you'll find one team tends to be aligned on this, and another team is aligned on this, you know. So let's try as much as possible to work together as a team. Thank you so much for those comments. So the question I'd want us to pose and ask ourselves, whatever we do, because this can apply in the office, it can apply in our social networks, also in our homes, you know. Are we good team players? All those things that we are saying that good team players are not, do we have any of that? Because at times we as human beings is that we look at others, but we never take time to reflect. And that's why I tell people it's very good when you come for these trainings, because they help you to also reflect as a person. Because all of us have the potential to be the best that we can be. We have the potential to be good team players. But maybe once in a while, there's an area maybe we're not doing so well. And that area, the beauty of this series is that it's like you light it up back and you're like, wow, I think I've been failing on this one or 2 areas. So let's ask ourselves, am I a good team player? Because I'm telling you, when you're a good team player, even working becomes fun. And like you say, even for the online people, you interact with those people most of the time because that is your work. So you can imagine if you don't have the right attitude, you can imagine if you're in the office and you're not a team player, you're that person who's always on their own, you go for lunch on your own, you don't want any interaction. Even if you're an introvert, even introverts also build relations, you know? You can imagine how boring your life can be because most of the time that we spend in the working areas. You spend a minimum of 8 hours in a day unless you're on leave or you're off. So you can imagine if you have to calculate those hours per year, most of the times, most of your productive time, you are in the office or you are engaging with people because even if you're not in the office, you are either in business, you're interacting with people. So you can imagine if you're not a good team player or you don't have the right attitude, you can imagine the kind of life that you have. Yeah. So let's try as much as possible to be good team players in any area that we are in. Yeah, people have fun working with them. I'm sure there are those people in the organization that if you're given an assignment with them, you're very excited because you know, this one, are we going to hack it, you know? And you just feel, even if it's lunchtime, you're like, wow, you say Irene going for lunch and you're like, Irene, so you know, there's those people who are just fun. You give an assignment with them, you never struggle. It's like you're clear, you give each other, this is what you're going to do, this, and they're nice, they'll do it, and you know, there's no dull moment with them, you know? These are the talent that you're talking about. People who are fun to work with. And fun, I'm not talking about the fun of just, fun of laughing, but it's enjoyable, it's easy. You have a question, you don't struggle. Have you ever had a colleague or a supervisor that in case you want to ask them a question, you really struggle? You even practice. I'm going to start like this. I'm going to start like this. Even when you're writing an email to them or a memo, you write it 1,000,001 times because you're like, when Irene receives it, how is it going to be? You're always in that panic mood because this person is not fun. But the other person, you're like, even writing to them an email is exciting. And you see what happens is they say opposite attract. When you're that power of attraction, if this person is fun, if you're talking to them and they're fun to work with, you're writing to them this kind of email and you're like, this person, ananga mambo mingi. Do you know, even when you're writing that communication to them, you have that excitement, you're even smiling. Even as you're going to approach them, you already have a very positive attitude. You don't have the sense of fear. So a good team player is somebody who is fun to work with. They are social, you're comfortable. They have a vibe, about that everybody, doesn't matter whoever it is, from the senior-most to the low person, the person on the lower level, they will interact. In fact, you find them talking to people and they're like, they talk to everyone and everybody. And even at times when there's something, you'll be like, hey, but they talk to so-and-so, they'll be able to talk to so-and-so, when people are stuck. So these are good talent, people who are fun to work with. Thank you. Titus tells us that, thank you, Titus. Sure, as a team player, I need to go out of my way to support others to get along with tasks, especially for new employees. Absolutely, I can't agree more. Who may seem to struggle to understand the flow of work, while others may struggle due to some personal issues, and just need counseling support. Very true, Titus. At times, we're very good to judge, but do you get to talk to them to understand what is happening? And I'll give a story based on this. Thanks, Titus, for bringing this up. When you work with your teams, are you the person who is very quick to judge? When somebody is late, especially if it's on Monday, maybe we can't. If it's end month, it's because it's end month. And when I talk about this, I always talk about, there's a story that really motivates me or inspires me. And I'm sure if you have heard about this story, it's okay, kindly, just a reminder. About this young boy, I'm sure most of you have interacted with this story, so kindly allow me to just share it. There was this young boy who used to come to class very late. And every day he would be late, he would be punished. he comes late. And of course, the teacher started having an attitude towards this boy, because like, this boy comes late, he's punished, but the next day he still comes late. He's punished, but the next day he still comes late. And then one way, after some time, the boy disappeared for 2 days. Of course, didn't tell anyone. Then after that, he would come and he was never late. And even his performance changed. But he was very reserved. Then it was around Christmas. And in this class, the children were supposed to be bringing for teachers a gift. So this boy had nothing, because he was just a humble young man. And what he did, he went and brought a necklace. And this necklace didn't have some beads. So it wasn't a new necklace. So when the teacher looked at it, of course, with the attitude, like we talk about attitude is everything. Already this teacher already had an attitude that this boy used to come late, didn't care. Then all of a sudden, I guess he's coming on time. Then after all this, then he brings for me a broken attitude. I mean, a broken necklace. Then the teacher took the necklace and just said thank you and didn't think about it. So when she went home, she thought about it and said, something in her was, you have this kind of intuition, like, what is happening to this young boy? And she decided that she's going to talk to the young man. And so she called the guard and asked him, I mean, I've seen this process, and now what is happening in your life? And this boy started crying, and the child was like, what's up? So he said, the days when I used to come late, I was taking care of my mother, who was very, very sick. And the day I didn't come for 2 days, it's when we'd gone to bury my mother. And when you say that you have to give you a gift, since I didn't have anything else I could give, when my mother was dying, she gave me this necklace, the necklace I gave to you, and told me, I give it to the person who makes the biggest impact in my life. And the teacher just started crying. And she asked the boy, why do you think I make an impact in your life? And the young boy said, when I come to class, the things you teach me are things that I don't know. And this is the only place that I feel like I have a life. Because when I go home, we are very poor. There's no food. There's no nothing. So you're the only person who makes an impact in my life. So you can imagine how the teacher reacted. And the story goes and says that that was a turning point for that teacher. And she took it upon herself to interact with every student. And should make sure that before every class, should ensure that she has someone she's interacted. And she took this boy personally like her son, because the boy was even living in the streets, And the story goes and says that this boy went and became very successful. And as now, he's a very successful man, and they're very close with his teacher. But moral of the story is that people struggle with issues. Even in our workplace, let's not be quick to judge. Let us not look at somebody and say, this one, they're always coming late. This one, they don't even go for lunch. You never know. Let's always get to understand people. Let's ensure that we understand. And especially when people are new. Because one, you don't know the kind of people you found. So it is your responsibility as a team lead and as a good team player to be able to interact with this person so that this person becomes part of that team. So thank you so much, Titus, for that. I agree with you that we need to support each other and get to understand what we are all going through, because everybody has a battle they're battling. And some of the battles maybe just need someone to talk to, because you just need somebody who can motivate you, who can tell you, it's not the end of the world. We've had issues whereby you've had an issue thinking you're coming to the end of the world, only for you to share and you realize, oh my goodness, mine is nothing. People are going through issues. So kindly, I agree, Titus, let's always support each other. They understand the organization culture and they're a good fit. When you hear about being a good fit, do you fit into the culture? Yeah, and some cultures can be interesting, some cultures can be tough, you know. So this employee will always fit. You say this, maybe you have dress codes, you have a theme, you have this. They come and they fit, they're flexible, you know, they can adapt. If maybe something comes up and you're like, but tomorrow is Saturday, can we offer, can we come and work? So that, and they're like, yeah, no worries, you know, they're very flexible. Today you need to work like 1 hour extra. They have no issue, you know, they understand the organization culture. If this is what is expected of you, then that's what they're going to do. Like, I was talking to a friend of mine who's just gotten a new job somewhere in a bank. And I think one of the things is that you have to wear suits, you know, and unfortunately, he was from a background, an industry whereby they were doing, they're dressing casual, you know. So he has to go and buy suits. And he's like very excited because you're like, this is an organizational culture. So you embrace it. Yeah. And you're like, wow, this is a culture I'm good. And so be it. I'm flexible. I don't have to say, oh my goodness, now how will I be wearing suits? I don't know what, you know, already when you start having that negative attitude, so you can imagine you go with that attitude to that organization. So it's very important when we are able to understand the culture and fit in this organization. Excellent communication skills. Yeah. It is one of their biggest strengths. They're naturally good with certain skills, like public speaking. They always get their point across in an appropriate and professional manner. For instance, they can speak just as easily with coworkers as they can with clients. You know, when you have like something that they will always articulate issues back. You know, there are those who articulate, you're like, oh my goodness, I wish I can be able to articulate that issue. Those are the talents that you're talking about. Okay. They're natural leaders. Great employees may or may not have many of the qualities and attributes listed above, but there's one true quality great employees possess. They demonstrate natural leadership. There's a problem, they'll always take leadership. And when I talk about leadership, it doesn't mean that you're the head of the department. No, even the small tasks, like maybe like Rispa told us about, I think it's Rispa or one of us said about some team players maybe want to contribute. They're very complicated. They start changing ideas. They're like, oh no, this person will just come and like, no, it's okay, let me organize. Maybe you have birthdays. They'll come up and say, I'm going to organize, they coordinate everybody. You're going somewhere, they volunteer. You know, they're natural leaders. They offer leadership. People maybe are having some conflict. They just come in and they're able to solve these problems, you know. So these are the people we are talking about. Okay, so those are the attributes, or those are what are the things that when you talk about a good talent, those are the 10 qualities that we are looking for. When we talk about ourselves as, I know I'm a top talent, because all of us, I tell everybody, we are all top talents. And because everybody has that potential. So when we say we are top talents, these are the qualities that we are talking about. And in case there's one or two that is missing, of course, you're told no one is perfect. No one is 100%. So in case there's one or two attributes that maybe you feel, I scored 2, I scored 3, I scored 5, there's always room for improvement. And I think that's why we're having these interactions. Okay. So now we go to the gist of everything, and we go to the strategies of how we attract these people. How do we attract them? These great people, these great team players, good communicators, natural leaders. 1, I talked about job analysis technique, proactive sourcing techniques, and creative interviewing techniques. So this is what now we're going to handle in the next session. And I want to pause there and ask ourselves, when you hear about the job analysis technique, what comes to your mind? I open it up to you guys. Let's interact. What comes to your mind? Job analysis technique? Okay, let me just open it up. You can say anything about job analysis technique, proactive sourcing techniques, or creative interviewing techniques. Whatever you feel you'd want to add, or you're thinking on any of the 3, you're free to do so. So kindly, I love when people volunteer as opposed to calling out names. So over to you, good people. We said it's an interaction. So let's do it, guys. We are good team players. We are good talent. So let's participate. What strategies or what comes to your mind when you hear job analysis technique, proactive sourcing techniques, creative interview techniques, what do you think it is all about?
Can I try?
Please do.
Yeah, I'm just looking at something like proactive sourcing technique. I'm thinking like we source generally through adverts, we come up with that indent, but you could also do the head hunting. You want a particular, you have a particular position, and we are all told, can you look for somebody who would be suitable for this job, who has this and this character? You know, we are dynamic. They should be ready to do additional jobs or very flexible, but they must have certain basic skills, and they should have had this experience, so that you are kind of headhunting. You can also use headhunting to identify for senior position. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Your name, please?
My name is Alice.
Thank you so much,
Mayasha.
Alice. Thank you so much, Alice. I agree with you. When you talk about the proactive sourcing, we do the adverts and also headhunting. And I think you all agree with me. There's some positions that headhunting works best. And I don't know, it's an evolving thing. And we're discussing it the other day, is like, I don't know what is happening to the job market, but you find out nowadays, most positions, even as much as they advertise, you find people advertise, you get 1,000,001 applications, but you still can't get the right person, and you end up headhunting. So it's becoming a very, very key strategy. And I agree with Alice when you say there's some attributes that you're looking for. There's some good fit things that you're looking for, that this person, if I go to Jane, I talk to them, I know their attributes, I know how they are, I know how they behave, they're going to be a good fit. As opposed to this person who you're not very sure, it's like you're trying to test. And for me, where I sit, I always encourage and say, especially for senior positions, at times headhunting works, because you really know who you're looking for. Yeah. So thank you, Alice, for that. Hannah, is the psychometric test. I agree with you. At times, those are also proactive ways of, because maybe there's a specific thing that you're trying to look through. You want to ensure that this person, how is their thinking capability? How is their thought process? How do they strategically think? So you have to take them through the psychometric test, and also it really helps, especially when you're trying to vet and you have a big number and you really want to vet them up. Yeah, reference checks and background checks. I want us to pause and ask ourselves, what is your view on the reference check and background check? And which is the most effective way of undertaking the reference checks or background checks? Anyone who'd want to try? And what is your view? Anyone?
Yeah, can I attempt?
Yes, Frispa.
My name is Lillian.
Oh, Lillian, sorry.
Yeah, I'm joining in from Kampala.
Lovely. Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you. I personally think that, reference check is a quite important process or part of the process. However, in my now 13 years of experience, at times I feel like in HR, I feel like sometimes we do not end up getting the most sincere feedback. One, because you cannot vet the people that have been given as a reference by the candidates to truly know whether the feedback they are giving is the real feedback. Have they worked with them before? Have they worked for them before? I mean, do they actually know how they work? And number two, even when people have maybe given their immediate supervisors, you may find that the feedback you're getting is not real. But again, it's an important process. How to maybe vet the people that you have been given is what we should be probably thinking about before we get the feedback.
Thank you very much, Lillian. I agree with you that it's a wonderful process in terms of recruitment, but we agree it has challenges. And we've seen when people who give their addresses I write Irene Miyako. Let's say I write Lucy is my referee, but the address I give, okay, nowadays we have the emails. It's even my email. So it will come to me and I will respond, Also, I've seen people will call me like, I don't know, I'm looking for this job. Can I put you as a reference? And true to it, if these people call you, I think it should, okay, for me, I feel not fair to maybe give negative feedback because I always say everybody has room for development, but the kind of feedback you give, how objective and how sincere is it? So I agree with Lillian that it is a good process. However, at times, organizations that put a lot of emphasis on it, at times lose on very good candidates. Secondly, maybe you make a back check where somebody had left. Maybe they were a key employee. Some supervisors out there are. And someone's like, hey, sell it to Wacha, No, it is our time. So I find I have some mixed, for me as Irene, I also have some very mixed reactions to this because it can easily be taken out of context. And I encourage people in HR, let's not use it as a key requirement in terms of onboarding somebody. Okay? So Rispa, your hand is up. Kindly.
Yes, my hand is up. I just wanted to add something to it. I know your last statement said, let's not use it as one of those key things, but I actually think at some point, or for some jobs, it's important. I found myself on two different ends of this. Because one, I've been a job seeker, so I've had to also ask people to add them to my resume as referees and give feedback. But then I've also found myself where someone has gone ahead and used my name as a referee. And that particular example, they didn't even ask me about it. They just added my name. Unfortunately, in their new organization, they stole, and it became a court case. And then their HR and the police started looking for them. And the referees who were not even aware we were on their resumes were at some point at industrial area writing statements. And yeah, exactly. So it got there. From a recruiting perspective, depending on the level and the kind of exposure they're going to have at some point, I think referees are important. And yes, like Lillian said, it's very difficult to determine whether that feedback is true or not, and whether it's sincere or objective or something like that. I've been lucky enough to also be interviewed by quite a bit of some international organizations. And what I have seen them consistently do is they will, other than what you have put in your resume, they will ignore that, but they will specifically ask you, we want to contact 3 persons. Give us their information. And they will put in an email or provide a form where these referees will fill. So that form, when Irene responds on behalf of RISPA as her referee, it kind of gives the HR a peace of mind, or at least some consolation that, oh, I didn't make a bad decision. Because can you imagine, as a HR, you called people and of course they lied because they're friends. Oh, this is a very good person. 1 month later, they have stolen $2 million. So written feedback is important because it kind of exonerates you from whatever else the employee will do later. And yes, we know referees are usually not objective because we are friends and we want the best for each other and we wish each other well. But it is important for some roles because I found myself on two ends of those, as a recruiter and as an employee looking for work.
Cool. Thank you so much, Rispa. I agree with you that at some levels, it's very, very important that you do the reference check and the background checks. And maybe from your submission one, sorry for that you had to go to court. Wow, I think that is, it can be very frustrating, especially when it's somebody you even didn't know, somebody had not even informed you. So really that tells you that person already had a problem. Because I think it's good, it's good practice that if I put you as my referee, let me know, let people know, like, no, every time you're doing a CV, at times based on where you're giving that CV, you find you change your references based on whatever is required. So do you inform those people? So I think it's a good thing to inform them. And secondly, I agree with you that at some positions, it's very important. And that's when now we come to the background whereby we as HR are taking the initiative of reaching out to maybe like the organizations you worked for. And we do that with your consent. And I like this, something they'll always ask, are you comfortable with us contacting your previous employer? And what I love about that is at times when you say no, they'll ask you why. Yeah. And the support will be very honest and tell you, by the way, unless you've given me this job, if you contact my employer, because the support will do reference check before they've actually given you the offer. If you get in touch with my employer, then chances are it will affect my current role. So I agree with you, when there's a very interactive and very objective, then it can be done and it's doable. And I think the only challenge now is for us to be very careful. I didn't know about that thing of people that if an employer cannot get, I think I've learned, if somebody does something wrong, as a referee, I'm also accountable to that person. Thanks for that, Tris. But then I'm going to be very key. If everybody calls you, are like, okay, it's okay, just put me as a referee. You never look at the other side of it. It's really scary. Yes, someone is saying something?
Yeah, sorry, I wanted to correct that. I don't think it's true they can hold you accountable. I think now they were just grasping at straws to try and find these people, and then came after us. Because then later, I think we were all a bit angry, and we started looking for this HR person who didn't do their due diligence and now engages the police in trying to look for referees who have no relation with this person. So I don't think it's true. They're supposed to do that, but yes, when push comes to shove and they're grasping for straws, like in this case, they will come after you.
Absolutely. And I think that is a lesson. Okay, for me personally, I think it's a lesson at times when people ask you, can you be my referee? It's good for you to also know who they are. At times we just say yes for the sake of saying, because maybe you interacted with somebody and maybe they're young, they're looking for a job, they don't have anybody they can put on the reference. Because at times you may be giving reference to people and you're not doing justice to the process, because you're doing it as a formality, not to add value, but just as a formality, because even maybe this person maybe comes to you and they are very nice. Or I think it's something we also need to ask ourselves, because I know most people, when they go out there, they use us as HR as their reference checks. I mean, they'll be like, can I use you? So let's not just do it for the sake of doing it. Not that we're talking about attracting people. Let's do it because we want to add value to that process. And when somebody, you're giving that reference, be as objective as possible. Of course, you not give something that is very, very negative, but there's a way you give it in such a way that, for you, you've given the things as they are in an objective, professional way. Okay, let me read the messages. Thank you. I love the interaction. Hannah. We start with Titus. Thanks, Titus. Job analysis technique is a systematic method of breaking down jobs into specific, actionable tasks to inform decision-making, such as the kind of organizations skills go for. Yes, this is whereby you break this job into specific tasks. So as Irene, I'm coming in as a operations manager. What are these tasks that I'll be performing? So that even as I am applying for that job, even if it's a headhunting job, I've been told this is what will be expected of you, 1, 2, 3. And I'm like, okay, I can do that. This I can't, this And like I said, the main objective of job analysis is to avoid a situation whereby I come to a position, to an organization, knowing that I'm supposed to be doing 1, 2, 3, 4 tasks. But when I come, my job has nothing to do with the tasks that even attracted me to that job. Maybe I was attracted to that job because I saw the task. Maybe they say, assume it's HR, and maybe it's a growing organization. So it's like, maybe I will be the training department. So part of what you'll be doing is training. Then you go to that organization, you put to payroll. Let me not say hate it. I'm not very good with figures. So imagine I come in, I've been attracted by this profile of a HR, maybe a business partner, and this is what, then I come and my boss tells me, I think we have been a gap. Can you just be managed? So you see, it really demotivates me as a person. So let's ensure that we have the right job analysis. So Titus, thank you so much. That is very true. Hannah says, there's something I have seen, peer-to-peer review interview. Wow, interesting. Hannah, tell us more about that. Peer-to-peer review or interview? Hannah? Okay. Anyone who can tell us more about that? Yes.
What happened was we did the first interview. Sorry, I'm having a technical challenge. We did the first interview where the panel was made up of the senior management team. And then now we had a second interview, which they called peer-to-peer. So what happened was these are like managers you will work with who have a dotted line, like other departmental heads. So they were basically checking on questions about your attitude, how you would relate to them. They had a lot of tray exercises, like if this is a scenario, what would you handle first? Why would you handle this last? Why would you handle this with less priority? Basically, those were the type of questions. So amongst themselves, because they're not going to be on the reporting structure to this person, but they will work with this person. So they also gauge this person's attitude. Are they temperamental? Are they able to articulate themselves and things like that?
Awesome. I love that. So, and I think if most of us, if you've been engaged, I think it's like a trend nowadays in the recruitment, whereby you find at a point, you'll find maybe like on your second level, or even some even start at the first level, you first interact with your peer. They're like, is this a person that you can be able to work with? Then not from then on, it goes not to the technical bit of it. So I think for me, it's a wonderful strategy because one, even for you who's been interviewed, you're like, wow, these are the kind of people I'm going to work with, So it gives you a notion, and it also helps even when you're making decisions. So I agree with you. The peer-to-peer is also a very new upcoming interview technique, and it's working well. For me, I can say it's working well. I have interacted with it, and you even like have like a peer meeting, and and you feel like, oh, this is, because every organization has its own level. So when you're with your peers, the things that you are like, will this person fit? Okay, who is this? Kindly mute. I think I'd muted, so no worries. Sorry for that. So thank you so much, Hannah, for that. I agree. Let's try and look for these new techniques that we can use to ensure that we get the right people on the board, and these people start also feeling they're part of us. Okay. There are those of giving misleading reference, you will pay cost of hire and even salary paid. I agree with you, yeah. Even insurance have reference. Yeah. Even insurance have a reference clause. No reference, no claim is paid. Wow. So you see, reference is everywhere. So, and I think maybe the key thing is the objectivity that we attach to the process. Be objective, because like we are told, if you give the wrong, actually know that you're testing your integrity. So if you give the wrong information, then now you're testing your integrity, and this is where now the personal leadership as a person comes to play. How do you give this reference? So we are in agreement, and so thank you so much, guys, for that. Really appreciated. Okay, anyone else who'd want to add anything? Because before I go to my slides, I love about the proactive sourcing techniques. Anything else that maybe someone else would want to share with us? Something that has worked, something that they've embraced. Nowadays, things are really changing, and especially with this online. I think the other thing, nowadays people do a lot of online interviews, Yep, anyone? Yes, Rispa?
On sourcing techniques, I think it depends on the level you are sourcing for. So whether it's C-suite or top management or middle or lower level, at some point you focus basically, especially on the lower levels, you base your focus on the skills. So you want to know what they were taught, what experience they have, specifically to see if they can actually do the job they're being hired to do. At some top levels, the focus shifts from skills to their personality, to their decision-making skills, to their thought processes, their attitude, and things like that. And that's what someone referred to as earlier as peer-to-peer interview, where you just have a conversation and you gauge them. So it's not really about what they can do. It's about them as a person, their character, their personality, their, soft skills and all of those things. And especially for people who are being headhunted. You can't headhunt a person and start asking them if they can run an ERP software. It's now about their decision-making capabilities. So
I agree.
that's my thought.
I agree totally. Having the person that you're recruiting, the position, the techniques are different. And you find some people, and I always telling some organizations is that the same way you're recruiting somebody at the lower level is the same way you're recruiting. You have to know what you're looking for, because at the top level, truly you have the skills. So it's more of the decision making. Do you have the decision making? Do you have critical thinking skills? So I agree with you, Rispa, that it's very important that we have different techniques for different positions. Thank you. So now we go to what we have. I'm checking if there's any chat that I may have missed. Nope. Thank you, guys. So let's keep on. Let's continue interacting. So I go to the job analysis. Okay. So this is a technique whereby, like Titus who told us about it, that to create a job description that is clear, precise, and captivating. That job description that we are creating, how effective? Is it clear? Does it provide clarity? And this is where at times we as HR are challenged. When we are drawing our job descriptions, what is their clarity? Are they precise? Or they just, you can't understand. To develop, it's not very clear, Then we ask, we should ensure that the copy you use in your open position posting and job description is compliant and paints a good picture for the prospective employee about both the position and the company itself. And allow me to say this in all humbleness. There's a time you'd look at the job adverts on the newspaper. Okay, right now, I think people are really taking advantage of the social media. And once in a while you find, but there's a time, like Friday's newspaper, you'd have like 5 or 10 pages of job adverts. And you'd find the intro of the job advert would almost be the same. This is a world class, world class, what. And the question at times, I remember asking someone one day, because I knew the organization, and I asked them, why do you say you guys are world class? And they're like, yeah, we are world class. I'm like, do you know what world class means? Anybody who sees world class, any person, I'd be like, wow, this is a world class, as in, it has international standards, it has, and I will apply. Then you find it's an organization that has 3 people that you're even working from, you get. So you have to be very clear. Don't sell what you don't have. Don't give this big thing competitive. You're competitive. You're what? Those, if you're competitive, yes, say it. We have great benefits. Then you go to that organization, even medical, they don't have medical. The only benefit they have is they give you tea at lunchtime. At break time. So they give you tea at break time and at 4 o'clock. And you say we have wonderful benefits, you have this. So maybe somebody is in a job and they're looking for a job that has benefits. They want more benefits. So when you look at this, you're like, wow, this is my dream job. When you go there, the things you're told are so different from the advert. So it's very, very important, guys. When we're putting out those adverts, let's ensure whatever we are saying reflects the organization, because that is the only way we're able to attract the right people. Otherwise, you attract the wrong people. And that's why you'll say, wow, we had 2 very good candidates. However, they just turned down our offer. in most cases, it's always a question of us overselling ourselves. Whereby you've given, and you see, the same way we do background reference and checks, people also do, especially at those senior positions or middle level, and especially if I have a job, if currently I have a job, I want to move from this job to another job, I don't think I'll just hand in my resignation unless it's, there's a time it's like, I don't care, whatever comes, I'll take. But ideally, I'll be like, which organization am I going to? I'll do my own reference check. I want to know, what is their culture? What is their leadership style like? What do they have? What do they have? What are their benefits? And in most cases, it'll be like, the things I was told in the interview, even the things that are appearing on the job description, on the job advert, is totally different from what is in the company. So what happens? I just tell you, give me 2 or 3 days, I think about the offer. Assassin, I traveled, I'll give you feedback after 1, 2 days. I'll give you feedback this, the next thing. I'm sorry, after clearance, I don't know what, I'll be given a counter offer, or I turned down my offer. You go to the second candidate, your second best, they also turn it down. You end up going maybe to a candidate that who is that best, but not your very best, or no, you start now again headhunting. You're like, do you know anybody who can fit in this role? And the mistake. And you start complaining, this person there, they gave us hope, and they were very good. Trust me, it is always our mistake. We oversell ourselves. So it's very important, if you want to attract the right people, attract them with the right position of your organization. Don't oversell. You better even undersell, but don't oversell. Because at times when you oversell and you're talking about this great strategy, so this person is like, wow, and the first thing they come in, they're expecting to see a strategic plan. You have no idea. You're like, what is that? Strategic what? They're like, oh my goodness, So kindly, let's always ensure that whatever we are selling is what we have. And that's why the job analysis technique is very, very important. Because 1, we ensure we get it right in terms of the responsibilities. And 2, we ensure that the advert that we're going to channel out, it is within what we are, not what we hope to be. Okay? We can sell ourselves on what we hope to be when the person is already there for the interview. But don't say what you want to be, yet you're not yet there. Okay? Make sure the job description does not focus exclusively on things like what the candidate will do, but instead why it is important and why they will enjoy working with the company. What is in it for them? And I think you've all seen of late, most of the adverts, they're very, I find them very fancy, they're nice. You even read an advert, by the time you realize you're looking, it's a job advert, you've already gone have it like, are you this? Are you this? Are very nice, not the normal adverts at times, okay, though it also depends with the organizational culture, but you find like nowadays people are coming out from those job adverts, so you pay key responsibilities, they're listed. Qualifications, MBA, I don't know this. Nowadays it'll come up, it's like, wow, I feel important. Like I was looking at an advert and was saying, do you like this? Do you love traveling? Do you love, and you're like, wow, those are, do you love talking to people? Do you love, and you see, they're the same skills, but now I'm like, wow, I love traveling. So I'll be traveling. So I start thinking about myself. So even the way you craft that job advert is also a point of attracting. Make it exciting. And especially like we said, who are you trying to attract in this position? If you're attracting people like in my generation, for us, we're in that generation of maybe you want a very formal advert, that job description, is job purpose, job what, duties and responsibilities, I don't mind. But if you're attracting these young people, Generation Z, surely they'll be like, what is even job purpose? It looks so complicated. They want something that is simple, nice, because they're like, wow, this is an organization that I would fit in, This is an organization that embraces. This is an organization that has something for me. I love traveling. I love socializing, And maybe the organization that is so formal, for them, they'll feel, wow, because we all agree, I said discipline is everything, but each generation has its own challenges. Yeah. And we all know that the current generation, the challenges that they're having, they're very innovative, they're very well. So if they're like, these people, they're so rigid, I don't think there's any room for innovation. So make sure that you attract the right people. That is how it starts. Okay. Make sure your copy utilizes bullets and easy to read chunks of text. Odds are your job descriptions are being read by candidates using mobile devices. Make it search friendly, I agree. Nowadays, in fact, like I was telling somebody the other day, I even wonder who even buys newspapers. Because, okay, maybe in the office, maybe in the government offices, or maybe people who steal, and especially maybe at our generation, you know, maybe you'll buy a newspaper. But it's long since, you know, someone is like, I buy a newspaper to look for jobs. During our times when we were job searching, because I believe in this training, we have different generations. So let's go to give our examples. I think we'd buy newspapers on Fridays and Wednesdays. And in case one of you is working and the others are not working, and that time every boss, maybe the bosses are the ones who get newspapers, you know, they would photocopy. That time there were not this scanning and whatever. We used to have scanners, so they would scan an email to you. I think we are not gotten to the level of the WhatsApp of nowadays. So nowadays, if you're still in that era, things have changed. People want to, the mobile has become everything. It is a moving office. You're going to read all the news. Therefore, you don't need to read the newspaper because breaking news are always there. So when you buy the newspaper, it's just to affirm what you had already read, as in even ahead of the newspaper. So already, by the time you're buying the newspaper, it's already old news. Even so much has changed from when the newspaper was printed. If you're looking for a job, how friendly is it in case I'm searching for it? Is it friendly from my phone? Yeah. So those are the kind of things that we need to avoid. Those are the kind of things we need to look at. Because even for us, even if in that old school, somehow you find yourself, you have to evolve with time. That's the truth. You have to be flexible. You cannot just die with the old newspaper way. Have it, but still evolve with what is working. Because what will happen is you spend money on the newspaper, but you'll get, the applications you'll get may not be what you're looking for. But when you do it online, get into this online job searches, platforms, the professional, the LinkedIn, you know, those ones you just post your job, the Brett Amanda, you know, and you find you'll get people. Yeah. So let's not be very rigid. Let us also, and those are the strategies, those are the techniques you're talking about. Let's look for strategies that are current, strategies that are more friendly, strategies that are effective, and especially based on the job that you're looking for and the people that you want to attract. Okay. They say third language, like a qualified candidate will demonstrate, will make most people, you know, like I said, you know, everybody knows you're looking for a qualified person. Yeah. So we're being told to look for things like saying fearless critical thinker, you know, and you sit here like, wow, I think I'm a critical thinker, you know. It even makes you, even as you're reading that advert, you feel, wow, this is me, this is Irene, you know. But when you say a qualified candidate will demonstrate, you know, it's like I hope you guys are getting what I'm saying. So those are the strategies you're talking about. You know, a passionate believer in, yeah, you believe in people, you believe in people development. This, if you're a HR person, a passionate believer in people. Because for us, like in HR, we work with people. We live people. I mean, we drive the people agenda. Yeah. They say if you want a drone, advertise like a drone, and you'll get what you're putting. So if you advertise, how your advertisement is channeled out will also determine the kind of people you're going to attract. If you're very formal, chances are you'll attract a lot of formal people. But if you're up and, you know, you have this exciting, you're going to look for, you know, like you were talking about fun people to work with, you're going to get the right job fit. So let's try and look at those. I'm not saying this is wrong. This is just because you're looking at those techniques that work. And some of these things are proven. And if you work with the recruiters, they'll tell you, you know, when you chat about those serious adverts, people are like, this is not a serious company. In fact, they'll say, this is just an advert for formality, because they assume this one they just did for formality. So let's try even make our job adverts exciting to the people who are going to look at them, so at least we're able to attract the right people. Yeah, consider going visual. Look at that advert. This is for human resource manager. This was an advert that was done in the US. Yep. Look at it. How does it look? Let's just analyze that advert. Assume you're looking for a job as a human resource manager and you come across that advert. What will go through your mind? Tell me, guys, what will go through your minds? Visa company in the UK. Let's interact. You can chat. It's open. Tabitha, you want to say something? Tabitha? So your camera is on. Okay. Sorry? Yes, David? Your hand is up. Tell us something.
Okay, at first, I can't read what is in the advert, but from the, I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can.
From the look of the advert, from the pictures that are there, I am able to see what this company is looking for. First, they are looking for somebody with the critical thinking skills. That is where they have drawn a picture of someone and then rotating skills in it. Then they are looking, the ideal candidate is someone who's a people person. You can see the two people interacting, that is male and female. Then there's a part of their government building, that is someone who is aware of the federal laws. That's the government laws and the federal laws. Then there's a picture of the world rotating. So they are looking someone with the world vision, someone who understands what is going on in the different world program. So there are also a graphic somewhere. So they are looking someone who can grow their department. There's a growth profile there. So from there you are able to, before even you read it, you are able to, from the picture, you are able to understand. There's a part of signing contract, someone signing a contract. So that means these candidates must be able to give out a particular contract or write a particular laws or company policies that may be understandable. Then there's a part of communication where you see there's a bubble world round and a bubble of communications. So they are also looking for someone to interact with people and communicate well with the employees. Then there's a board there also. I think that board means company policies, regulations that will be followed by different employees in the organizations. Yes, from where I'm sitting, I can identify those ones. Thank you.
Thank you, David. And what do you think about this organization? If you're looking for a job and you came across such an advert.
First, I think it is a fintech organization. That is organization that is developed in the new world technology. From the adverts, it is developed in a new world technology. So it is probably a technology organization.
Agreed. Hannah is saying their IT iko juu. I agree, iko juu sana. The three people, Ndula, kindly, your hand is up. Rispa, your hand is up. So after Dula, Rispa.
I would say it's a fun and relaxed working environment for them to be able to express the advert like that.
Fun and exciting. You see, but even as you're articulating it, you can even say fun. You know, it's exciting, yeah. Yes. Who else? Their hand is up. Rispa, your hand is up.
Yes. My thoughts. The advert is very pretty to look at, very inviting. Of course, it's very visual. A lot of the young people and a lot of what is happening virtually right now, people are becoming very digital. So there are people called graphic designers. They will interpret anything, including your monthly financial reports will be turned into graphics. So everything still looks good to look at. Looking at the picture, because I know it's images pulled off the internet and anyone can do a very good graphic for it, doesn't really tell me much about the organization. So if I want to apply for this kind of job, I still have to go to their website and see what is available virtually. I was also able to see the salary they're offering. Then it tells me it's for the UK, tells me it's a mid-level employee. So then still I would apply, but for the visuals, a lot of companies are doing it, and there are people doing it for anything. You can make your horrible finance reports look pretty online. So yeah, my thoughts again. I'm sorry about that. I just have a different thought to everything. I think against the grain.
No, that's very okay, Rispa. Very okay. And like you say, it's very visual. And this is a way to go. I love the advert. Like you said, I also love it. And when you look at it, you really, it pushes you to go to their website. And that's one of the things I really wanted someone to bring up. It pushes you to go to the website. And you see, they say apply on this, you have to go to their website. So you get, you start learning about them. So somehow it's very exciting that you're like, wow, I want to know more about these people. So those are the kind of techniques that we're talking about. Something that, somehow it pulls you and you're like, wow, I think I would want to work with this organization. Okay. Okay, Juliana, your hand is up. Juliana, kindly.
You able to hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, though you're breaking.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay. Good morning.
Good morning.
From the advert. Hello.
Yes, we can hear you, Juliana. Go ahead.
Okay, from the advert, I can see a female and a male. This one demonstrates a person or a HR who will be able to take the gender mainstreaming issue into perspective and work with it. Then at the same time also, from the same pictorial, this HR should be able to give guidance in terms of leadership, management, and supervisory in relation to the current trend, because when you see that kind of a cloud, that represents our mindset. So this person should be working with the current trends in terms of leadership of people. Then the other thing from the pictorial, when you look at the signature there, it means that accountability, transparency in terms of managing people should also be taken into consideration. How are you going to lead people as you approve some of the issues that are coming up when managing people, and also at the same time realizing the performance of this particular organization? So you should be coming in knowing exactly what you are supposed to do under your role as a HR. The other thing, what I'm seeing there, financial management, it should be another key role that you should have as a HR, because these days as HR, we are supposed to be in the boardroom. So being in the boardroom, when people are talking about the financial in relation to the people performance or the people participation in the organization, how is it reflecting? So as a HR, you should have the basic financial management so that you are able to take this leadership of people to ensure that the company realizes its dreams and mandate. The other thing from this picture also, you should be a person who is a thinker, critical thinker, come in with strategies, have solutions for problems, lead at the front, because you are the person having the people behind you. The organization cannot live or exist without people. So you as the HR, you are the key person in this. Then the global perspective. Are you able to relate the regional into global perspective in terms of handling the HR, so that this company is able to be seen as a global company or a company that works with the global trends or the current trends in the world? The other thing in terms of the chart, I can see the chart there. So this one basically demonstrates your ability to transfer knowledge and even to share knowledge with the others when it comes to analysis of how the performance of the people, the performance of the organization, the customers and everything. So are you able to present all these issues before the board, the people, the stakeholders, and any other person who requires the information? So basically from the pictorial, as a HR of today, we really need to put on the armor of HR, I can call it like that, of the current issues, the current management, the current leadership of the people. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you so much, Juliana. That is very true. I love your interpretation of our visual advert, whereby when you look at it, you actually interpret it. You know, you as a person who is sourcing for or looking for a job, the pictorial, you're able to interpret them. And like you say, ideally you're able to capture what they're looking for, you know. So this is just one of the technique, maybe, like Rispa said, now we have people who are called graphic designers. Let's try and see how can we present even the worstest of all situations, especially when you're giving feedback that is not very positive. Maybe when you present it in a visual way, it becomes more exciting to look at, you know, because I'm trying to imagine like a financial statement. I would love to see that, Rispa, a financial, you know, like especially a negative financial report, you know. So in the midst of all, there's something nice to look at. So let's consider going visual in everything that we are doing. Thank you so much, guys, for that participation. So bottom line is that for us to know that one is that when you're looking for a person to come and fill a vacant position, we will have to get out an advert. Yeah. And what we're looking for is that we intend to sell something. So the question you'll ask yourself as you're generating that advert is, what am I selling? Am I selling something positive? Am I selling something exciting? And whatever forum I'm using or whatever advert, is it sellable? Is it selling an organization? A better ad can help you recruit better people. Absolutely. Think about advertising, about effective advertising in general. Yeah. Something pleasing, compelling, and interesting. Like I said earlier, people want to see those things. Are you this? Do you love this? Do you? And I think now that is the main thing. That visual, you know, something that is nice, that somebody looks at it like, wow, I think I'd want to work with these people. And they look like it's an exciting place. Like one person said, it looks like a fun place to work, you know. It looks like a place that they'll grow, there's this, that they embrace technology, you know. So in case I love technology, then that's a place that really be like, wow, I'll place in my application. You need to have major selling points clearly presented, why it's a good job. What's the job main assets and what are the main requirements? Okay, like you can look at that advert. It's very clear. Looking at it from that visual, you're able to pick it at a glance. You don't need to read point by point, but just looking at it before now you go to the nitty-gritty, you can be able to tell what they're looking for, you know. And you can see the HR manager, so you're able to tell and see this is what they're looking for in this person. Okay, so an advert is supposed to offer all that. Okay, let's look for proactive sourcing strategies. And I think this is what we were discussing earlier. And thank you so much for the input that we got about the proactive. And I think we mentioned a few of them. So I'll also now maybe mention others as we continue to interact. And when we're talking about new technologies, I mean, in today's world, you cannot ignore technology. And it has become a world recruiter forum. Actually, when you talk to people currently, if you're not embracing technology in your recruitment, maybe especially when you're trying to source, then trust me, it's a high time you embrace it. Because the world of recruiting is becoming a digital experience, perhaps leading the pack amongst the rest of HR processes. I agree 100%. If you're recruiting and all that you do when you're sourcing is placing adverts on the newspaper, then you need to embrace technology. As candidates come to expect convenience and mobile experience, it's very convenient. Like we said, why would I have to buy a newspaper if I can get everything on my phone? Secondly, maybe I may want to buy the newspaper, but maybe I don't have money. But I have money maybe to buy data. I have money, maybe I'll go to a place where there is Wi-Fi and I'm able to access my internet. So let's look at these new technologies and look for ways. I even saw an advert Actually, I'd hoped I was not able to, I'd hoped I would be able to download it here. A video advert, it's an advert and they actually, and you can see they're playing, you can see they're working, they show the offices, they show the canteen, they show everything, There's a virtual tour. It's like a virtual tour of the organization. So even as you're applying, you can be able to see how the offices look like. You're able to see, oh, they have this canteen, they even have a gym. So let's embrace these technologies that are coming. Build a digital employment brand. Everything an organization does in the digital and social network world affects candidates' decision to work there. Be sure to monitor and align messaging across sites and experiences. Some of our websites, they were last updated the day they were created. Now, maybe that is like 5 years. You go, you find people who left are still on their websites. You go, you see, you can't, every time they say it's under construction, How is your brand? Branding is everything. If I want to join an organization, like we said on that job advert, it will force you to go to their website to get more information about the organization. Me, as a job seeker, when I go there, what do I say? Is it friendly? Or there are those websites that you go to, for you to get to somewhere, you have to go through this, you have to look, you can't get. Yet there's some websites that are very friendly. You go, the homepage is very clear, whatever you need to look for. So let us ensure that our digital employer brand or organization brand is not compromised. And I encourage organizations to invest. Don't just have a website for the sake of having a website. Have a website because it is a tool of selling yourself. It is a tool of building on your employer brand. Okay? Broaden and expanding sourcing channels. Kindly let's mute. We're told to broaden and expand our sourcing channels, open up talent pipelines to non-traditional sources. Think about how best to source and recruit for the many types of talent needed, both on and off the balance sheet, including full and part-time employees and freelancers. And I think someone brought this up very well. Depending on who you're recruiting, you can use different techniques. If you're recruiting for marketers, I'm sure the technique you're going to use or the advert you use for a marketer is not the same advert you're going to use for an accountant. Accountants are very formal people. Yeah. So there's a way you'll craft it. If you're recruiting for a senior position, you're not going to use the same channel you use for a junior position. So it's good for us to be very flexible in our recruiting channels. And I encourage people, as you develop your recruitment policies and procedures, always have provision for that flexibility. Because especially if you have to, in those organizations, especially like the NGO, where they're very keen when they come to the auditing, and maybe they'll audit your recruitment process. If you've used a process that is not within your recruitment policy or procedure, then it becomes an non-compliance. So it's very important as you develop your recruitment policies and procedures, ensure that there's that flexibility. Yeah, that you can be able to try and put as much processes as possible so that even when you undertake it, should you be audited, then you still within the compliance. Because you see, like at times you may embrace a very nice sourcing channel, but because it does not reflect on your policy, then all of us know what happens. We'll always have the people with positive attitude and people who are malicious. And especially when you're at those senior levels. So someone will come and say, oh, Irene was recruited, as we don't headhunt. Headhunt is not part of our recruitment process. They've just brought their friend, and now it becomes a process. The new GM was recruited because he's Irene's friend. They even didn't follow a process. They used a process that we never embrace. It's not part of our policy. And when it's investigated for real, it is not part of your policy. And what happens? Somebody will come and say, I think Irene is not a person, they start doubting your integrity. So I always encourage people, especially recruitment is that one of the very sensitive functions of HR. So ensure if you have policies in place, you always embrace flexibility. And when you have to use maybe like a process or a sourcing channel that is not within the defined process, always seek approval. or just sick, something. So just in case kikiumana, or in case somebody comes and says they recruited their relatives, I'm sure all of you know all the drama that goes at times around recruitment. You'll have somebody to back you up, and you'll have some written whereby it's okay. Irene came and approached us, and we have done this and this. We placed this advert. We got like these applications. We did this, got this. We interviewed these people. Maybe they turned down, and now we're thinking headhunting is the only possible way of recruiting, and these are the benefits, and this is what has to be done, and we've given the go ahead. Because you may have the best interest, but there are those who look. There are people in the organizations, and I say, God forbid, there are people in organizations whose work is to look for those gaps. What is it that HR didn't do? And like in HR, most people who have practiced HR, we are never friends to many people, because one, maybe in the recruitment process, in the performance management, in the disciplinary, so the people like him, waiting for that gap. So let's always ensure that even as we're becoming objective, as we're becoming flexible, as we're embracing technology and new sourcing channels, let's always ensure that we do them within the acceptable policies and the procedures in our organizations. Yeah. Get referrals. And company-owned employees deliver the highest quality candidates. Also use professional networking and internal candidates consideration yield amazing results. You've recruited for a position and everybody's like, hey, this is your kazi. I'm sure you've heard those things. And trust me, already when people start saying that, when this person comes, already is coming to an environment that is very rigid. So you can imagine how this person is going to fit. And this person starts getting frustrated. And you're told your team can frustrate you to the extent that you can't do anything. So let's ensure that at times when you're recruiting, let's try and look from within. And I know there's some organizations that are very clear. Before any advert, since you've undertaken a skill audit, before any advert goes out, you have to have an internal sourcing first. So when you can't get internally, then that's when you go external. But there's some organization, even if they are recruiting for whatever level, they go external, Yet there are so many people who can be able to, who are good job fits for that specific role. Okay. Hire the best and forget the rest. Retention. Retention, retention, retention. You can hire the best. You can name it in whatever industry, but how do you retain them? Retention is very important. And maybe you may ask yourself, what has retention got to do with talent attraction? It has a lot to do because retention starts during the job interview. Yeah. I can come to an interview and from the interview, you're like, it's only that I'm really looking for a job, but I'll get in as I'm hoping to get another one. I just give myself like a year or 6 months. Already you from HR, you've hired the best, and you're like, wow, I've gotten the manager I've been looking for, and you're so happy. But because of how the interview went, this person knows, since I don't have a job, let me just go for this as I wait to get out. So as much as you're talking about retention strategies, and I know most of us look at retention strategies, we look at the rewards, we look at the environment, the working environment, we ensure the work-life balance, we do all those employee engagement, all those great, great strategies. But also the interviewing is a key strategy to retention. Yeah. Because no matter how much you want to keep an employee on, and no matter how much you do to influence the decision to stay, ultimately, the employee is one who decides to stay or go. And the interview can be one of the key things. If the interview experience was good, the interview experience, what you guys told me during my interview is actually what I'm finding on the ground. You told me I'll be expected my first 1 month, this is what would be expected. And for real, after my 1 month, true to it, it is in sync with what I was told. My responsibilities are this, it is in sync. The culture, I asked, what is a culture? What is the organization culture, the leadership culture? And I was told, we have an open door policy. And I come for real, yes, it is. But I come, I'm being told, it's open, it's transformational. Nowadays now people are using these words good words, you know, we are transformational, you do this, we're inspirational. I come, you don't even have a training program, yet you're talking about being transformational, you know? So you sold heaven during my interview, but when I come, there's no even mentoring, there's nothing, you know? So what happens? So that job interview is very critical. So guys, since we drive, especially the point, the human resource, we drive this process. So let's ensure that we get it right. Even as we're talking about retention, even as we're talking with our leadership, with our peers, telling them about retention, let's let it start from the interview, the job interview. Yeah, give the employees the metrics they need. It's not enough to give them vague, you know, well-intentioned feedback. Your employees actually want to see the results of their work. They want to have that concrete object that they can rest their pride on. They need to see the results with their own two eyes. Absolutely. It's unfortunate, but I think maybe it's the way the human being is natured. We're very good at seeing things that are not working. When you do a report, we're very quick to pick on the errors. Very quick to pick is not justified. I know the caps, you've mixed the caps and, you know, but do we look at the good things? Do we give positive feedback? Do we say, Irene, wow, that was nice. I love the way you presented the Excel. I love the way the financial presentation you did. I love the way you did the monthly report this month. However, maybe there's one or two things that we can, you know, and able to tell somebody, when you started, you remember when I told you about this, and now here, this is where we are. I'm able to say, and sit by, I'm like, wow, by the way, I have actually grown. And I've actually grown because my supervisor has coached me. They've shown me what to do. But don't just be that person, just give him negative feedback. Things are not working. I can even do it better. I don't even know why I hired you. I've had managers telling people that. And you can imagine the kind of heartbreak you give to an employee when you tell them that times I regret why I had to put you on board. You can imagine what kind of effect it can have on that employee. But let us give them the metrics that they need. Let us see if it's like recruitment. Maybe you didn't have recruitment in some organization. You find based on the number of the organization, they'll even have somebody specifically for recruitment. You'll be able to give them metrics to tell them, wow, since you joined us, the recruitment turnaround has really improved. We used to take 3 months to recruit for someone. We're not taking the second month, we're taking 2 months. No, we're taking a month, you know? At least able to see this that good, like be able to say and enjoy and say, wow, I can see the value that I'm adding to this organization. So let's try as much as possible, because that is how you retain people, because the human being, the way we are wired, is that you want to be appreciated. You want to see you adding value to everything that you're doing. So it is our responsibility. If you want to retain people, let them see the value that they're adding to the organization. And where they're not adding value and you know they can add value, because I said everybody has a potential to be the best version of what they can be. It is our role as HR to drive that. And we can only do that by giving people feedback, by telling people this is what needs to be done, being very results oriented, telling people, yes, this is where you are, this is what we expect of you, you know, let the KPIs, let them be very clear. Let's have clarity. And when things work on well, let us give that positive feedback. Recognize a healthy work-life balance. Yep. You want to retain people, yet they're working from Monday to Monday. There's no weekend, there's no Sunday, there's no off. You find that everybody has like 100 leave days or 40 leave days because they're always carrying over their leave days, Yeah. Trust me, people are not robots. And such people will be looking for a job, because I'm like, I mean, at the end of the day, okay, maybe depending, there are those, maybe when you join in, you have all that free time. Maybe you find even being in the workplace is better. But the time life changes, maybe you have a family, you want to have time with your family, yeah? So we have to ensure that we have healthy work-life balance, very important. Because if you don't get that balance, the employees become fatigued. Employees get what we call burnout. Employees start feeling drained. They just feel, I mean, my work, it's only my work. You live your work, you dream your work. By the time you get to your house, if you have children, the children have slept. Your spouse, if you have a spouse, he slept. If you're all alone, you don't even get in touch with your house, you know? As in, you've been in your house, like maybe you've not even gone to the kitchen Because if you're living alone, maybe because of the time they're living, you're like, hey, let me just grab a snack, I just go home and sleep. So the best you do in your house is just go home and sleep. Is that a healthy work-life balance? Do you have activities that will ensure that people, the mental health, now everybody knows talking about mental health. Do you have engaging activities, employee engagement activities that will ensure that people are engaged, that will ensure that people have good relations within themselves? Because that way then they become productive. But when people is just work, 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 work. Even they say all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. Same to an organization. If there's nothing exciting, then people become very dull and boring. Okay? Be the best. Of course, all of us want to be the best in whatever area we are in our organization. And I always say, be the best in wherever you are. Don't be the best to be like so-and-so. Be the best in your own organization, because everybody is unique in their own way. Every organization is unique. Every organization has its own DNA. Whereas you may borrow one or two things from another organization, which is well and good, but be the best of who you are, be the best of your organization. Yep. And of course, you compare ourselves to the competition. You have to know what your competitor is doing. So do your employees, because they ask. And you'll find, even in a certain industry, everybody wants to work with the leader in that industry. So you have to strive to ensure that you're the best. Because if you now start worrying so much about your competitor, you will forget building yourself. And then I talk about your employer brand. Very important. You've seen some organizations that are very small, but everybody wants to work for them. And we've seen organizations that are big. You know, they're market leaders. But someone will tell you, me, even if you gave me, I don't know what, I will not go to that organization. So I encourage people, be the best in what you do. Be the best in managing people. And key, and one of the responsibilities that we have as HR people is to drive that people strategy that will ensure that you're adding value to the organization, because people are the ones who make the organization. Because when the organization has a wonderful name and the people are not doing anything, then you cannot be a winner as an organization. So try as much as possible to be the best in the area that you are. Don't hide behind the open door. They say an open door policy is one thing, being fully engaged with the employees is another. True. You can have an open door policy. Everybody comes to your office. You can walk into any office, but are these people engaged? Because you're told it's not enough to simply invite criticism and feedback. Often people feel they can't express themselves for fear of embarrassment. Even when open door policies is in place. Instead, managers and employers need to actively create an open rapport with employees. Whereby if Lucy is struggling, if Jennifer is struggling, we don't need to be told. We already have a bond that in case I'm going through something, I know I can comfortably go to my peers and tell them, by the way, I'm going through something. I may not even be open about it, and they're going to embrace it. They're going to empathize with me. And once I share, it doesn't become public knowledge. You've had some HR whereby even when it was to be very critical in terms of the medical checkups or medical, even now, I think some organizations still, I think it's always it's a very good practice to always have an employee. And I think it's a requirement under the OSH so that somebody doesn't come, especially in the manufacturing, so that somebody does not come back and say, by the way, when I came, my ears are okay, but because of the noise of the machines, now my ears have a problem. So there's so many things come out of those medical reports. And you find maybe something is very confidential. It's a medical report, it's a confidential report, and HR has access to it. But not because I have a friend who is in another department, I'm like, even if you see him, I see her. That one, hey, Mimu, you start discussing people issues, and then somehow it gets to this person. How do you think it feels? You have a condition, you declare in goodwill because you expect people to understand, then it becomes now the story of their organization. Let's ensure that the rapport we have with employees is one that we're able to embrace trust, honesty, and confidence in each other. A lot of confidence is very important in our work area. because that way people feel, and like I said, you spend most of your time in your workplace. So in case you're not able to be free with the people you work with, you can't share with them good things. And when you have challenges, then you can imagine the kind of challenges you're going to have. And because you're looking at retaining people. And for me, I would want a place whereby I know I am myself. Nobody's going to judge me, you know? People take me for who I am. People appreciate my personality for who I am. And we embrace each other as colleagues. So let's not just be talking about the open door policy. Let's embrace it, and let us ensure that people can be able to open to each other, and people can be able to embrace each other, of course, to some limits. And this is where now the policy comes in, because again, you also have to have some policy to control some of these things that happen in the offices. Okay. Something that you're told that keep a close eye on management. And I'm sure you've heard of this notion that says employees don't quit jobs. They quit managers. I want us to discuss that. Is that true? And what is your thinking about that quote? Employees don't quit jobs, they quit managers. I open it up for discussion. Mjadala, is it true? Or is it just a notion? Open up. You can contribute. You can put on the chat.
It is true. This is Cynthia. It is true because we find that some managers, they want to control management. I don't think can be embraced in the era we have right now. So it's not the job actually, it's the management we are running away from. So in most cases, I think the saying is true. Yeah.
Thank you, Cynthia. You run away from, because actually I agree with you. Nowadays, because people know what they are doing, but yet you are there controlling everything. You come in at 8 o'clock, you know, there are those managers, like I used to have a manager somewhere that, you know, at times maybe some people come in, it's 8 o'clock, it's supposed to report at 8 o'clock. So some people come in maybe just a few minutes past 8, maybe even 1 minute, maybe it's just one. So where I used to sit, you know, you're there, the open plans office. So when you come in late, you'd be like, you know, you'd cough. And you know, you'd be like, now that cough is for you to know, by the way, I have seen you coming in. Then when you guys maybe, because it's open plan, maybe, you know, once in a while, somebody is sharing something and you start talking and you're laughing. So again, you would cough, you know, and you need to be so irritating. So I agree with you, at times that control, you want to control people, you want to control how they eat, you want to control how they talk, you want to control, it becomes very bugging. Thank you so much, Cynthia, for that. Yep. Yeah, Hannah is saying it's true. Yes, David, your hand is up.
Yes, the statement is very true. I will give an example of a job where you are new to the job. The job might be difficult at a time because you are not sure what is required of you or what you are supposed to do right and wrong. But if you have a manager who is very keen on teaching you and appreciating the little that you are doing and correcting you, you cannot quit the job. But if you have someone who is micromanaging you, that everything that he has given you to do, he has to go through it, he has to correct you in a bad manner, you are sure you applied for the job and you got the job, your skills are right, you also have to do everything correct, but after doing something, you are required to pass through him, he has to check it again. It is a kind of micromanagement, someone who wants to be on power. Whatever you are doing, he has to show you that this is how it's supposed to be, this is not how it's supposed to be done, yet you are given the job. That's I call micromanagement. Then you also have to have power over other departments. That is somewhere that the manager, if he's your manager, you also have to, some function of other department has to pass through him or her to be approved. you will definitely quit the job. You want to go through with it.
Absolutely,
Thank
David.
you.
I agree. Thank you so much, David. I agree totally with that. That these managers, they want everything you knew, you know, and they just make your life impossible. And as much as you try, you never please them. They see a mistake in everything that you give. And you've heard people say, even like when you're working on a presentation, they're like, nimetuma tu, since I know lazima atarudisha, you know. So can you imagine? And maybe as we go through this, always be asking yourself, am I that kind of a manager? You know, there's correcting and just being, I would say what? I mean, petty, me, I call it pettiness at times. Is it that every time everybody gives you, every time it has to have a mistake? There's no single time you say, wow, this is excellent. And somebody will work on a document. I'm sure you've worked on something. You work on it, work. Then you give it, you email it, and you're expecting to be told, well, that is very nice. And it changes, you know? And you have to restart it again. So I agree with you, it's very frustrating. And as Miroda says, they say that 80%, can you imagine? 80%. So when you think about your turnover, look at the 80% of the employees who have left. And these are research that was done. Actually leave because of hostile, ineffective, and hostile management. 80%. So you can imagine how big that number is. And that's what I'm saying, when you don't have a culture, the management culture is not one of transformational, of inspirational, then you can be assured that your turnover is going to be high. And I always encourage people, especially in HR, at times it's always good to have, you know, the metrics and analysis that we talk about, the turnover, the attritions or the exits. Just try and look, is there a specific manager that most people or department, and but if you're very keen, you realize there's a specific manager, and in most cases you're not wrong. Maybe that manager is somebody who has an issue, and now that is our role as HR. That's how now we add business to value to the business. You look for a way of coaching this person. And it's not easy. Or until you, if it's your supervisor, or maybe the MD or somebody, you know. But now that is where the challenge comes in of being a HR. And that's I tell people, someone looks at you, you've practiced, you're there, like, wow, me, I would want to be a HR. And tell people, wanting to be a HR is one thing, but being a HR is another thing. It's not as easy. You know, gone are those days when we were just administrative, you know. Now we are on the table. We are in the boardrooms, like one of us said, we are in the boardrooms. You have to be there challenging your MD. You have to be there to challenge, to support your HR strategy. And one of your HR strategy, or one of the HR objectives as a successful HR practitioner is to be able to coach and mentor executives. So if you find 80% are coming from one specific person, know how you're going to craft it. Go with the metrics. We talked about data. Data never lies, you know. You can start a discussion. Know how you're going to package it, because it has been proven that 80% of our employee turnover is caused by management. And we are part of that management. So this is a question to us. This is a question to all of us to ask ourselves, since you're in management, and even if you're not in management, maybe you interact with management, what can be done to ensure that this 80%, which is really high, goes down? Well, and the best way to do that, one, of course, is to include the soft skills, because you find most of these things, like I think it's David who told us, someone who said about when you're recruiting, I can't remember who it is. Kindly just forgive me, I can't remember who told us, but whoever it is, thank you, because you told us that when you're recruiting for a senior person, the skills may really not be, because it is expected that they have the skills. So mainly you're looking for those soft skills. So when you talk about management, it's more of the soft skills. It's more of the attitude that they have. It's more of their people skills. How do they deal with people? Are they team players? Are they good team leaders? Yep. Or are they people who come and top up to the 80%? So those are the kind of things that we need to be asking ourselves, okay? And it is our role. And I think it's something I'm going to challenge each one of us, including myself, to sit back and ask ourselves, where I am, the people I'm interacting with, how is the turnover? For real? Is Steve Miranda right? Or I am in the 20%? And I think it's a very good point of discussion, especially as you begin the year, as you set your objectives. So you can say, by there, I want to change my turnover from maybe 80% that is caused by management to maybe 20. I mean, the reverse. Okay. So let's always try and embrace to ensure that management is not the cause of our exits, because what we're discussing right now is about retention. Okay. Let me read some. Agree. Thank you so much. He's saying the statement is true. Managers are not leaders. When you have a leader, you're nurtured, you develop. A manager intimidates and kills good morale. Wow. I feel like, it's true. So are you a manager or are you a leader? A leader does not intimidate. A leader does not destroy people, but they develop people. They build people. They don't kill people's morale. Have you had this boss? You guys are hyped, maybe you're happy, you're discussing about something, then they just send an email, and you read that email, and you're like, do you respond? Do you walk into their office? And the best you can do is you look at it, and either you go to the washroom, or you take a walk, because you're like, really? Was that necessary? And maybe that email has been copied to the whole world. Like we always say, they've copied the whole world. So, and maybe that's the day you came up with that good morale. You're like, today there's this report I want to work on, So they just kill your morale. But what I tell people is, look for a way of motivating yourself. Because at the end of the day, you are accountable to your own self. This person, maybe, they're those people we call the sadists. For them, they're happy when they kill people's morale. There are people who don't know how to see other people happy. So where do you agree to be? It's not easy. It's something that you learn with over time. But how do you be in a room or allow somebody to kill your morale, yet it's a contrary. In fact, you're told, what people do to you is not what matters. It's how you react to it. It is something that comes with time, that grace, that somebody will tell you the craziest thing that you can imagine, and you just smile and say, okay, thank you very much. I'll think about it. And at times, I look at myself and I can't believe. The times you tell me something and would argue and argue, I'm like, no. But now you tell me something like, okay, thank you for that feedback. I'll think about it. And you see what happens is the moment you do that, this person, one, if they want to kill your morale, they're like, will you? So some of them also now start fearing. They're like, what is in their minds? But you see, the moment you engage them, one, this is your boss. So you'll engage them and it even becomes more messy. And to you, anybody who walks in, you who is down there or who is reporting will always become like you, the one who's on the wrong. Because these managers, thanks Agri for giving us the difference between managers and leaders. These managers are very good at showing the way the other person is bad and they're on the right. Okay. So let's always ensure that we are leaders in whatever we do and not managers. Well, once in a while we need to be managers, but let us be good managers. Let's not be managers who are frustrating people, who are creating hostile environments and the like. Emma says one might be competent in their jobs and even enjoys their job. However, the immediate managers make the environment very hostile, hence opt to leave. And I agree with you 100%. People have come to offices in HR and it's a good employer. You're like, why are you leaving? It's like, Irene, I've tried, but I just can't stand. I just can't stand Jennifer's leadership style. I can't. I have tried, I can't. Yeah. And these are good employees. So what happens is they go, you recruit, another one comes, they go, So that is very true. And that's why we are told they will leave the organization and they go to another organization. Mohammed, thank you for the charts. I'm reading the charts now. Very true. More so those who wait till appraisal time when he has paid salary review, then he brings your mistake you made in 20. Thank you. Thank you very much for this. Very true. And this is how we come in as HR. Do we train people about conducting appraisals, about continuous feedback, that feedback is supposed to be continuous? Or do managers believe that you only give feedback during appraisal time? And it's very demotivating. I'll give another example when you come to these appraisals. I consult for an organization that has expatriates. So these expatriates come, they're given these good ideas, you know what, this will happen. And the expatriate brings in their family because they're like, they've been told after probation, which is 6 months, they're going to be given an increment. So they're planning to bring their family, they're trying to resettle in Kenya. And they go and ask the boss now that 6 months are over, I'm looking forward to my confirmation because my family, in fact, so I can start looking for a school. And the boss removes a 12-page document that you've not achieved this, you've not achieved this, you've not achieved this, you've not achieved this, you've not achieved this. After 6 good months, you know what the person did? They just resigned. Because you're like, really? I have been here for 6 months. You're telling me about a mistake that I did the first week when I was very new. I was still learning. Yeah? And since they know there's that review that is coming, they use it. And I tell people, let's just embrace our integrity. If you don't want to give me an increment, don't use things that don't make sense. Just tell me. You can use words like maybe it's the budget, you know, we're having some financial strain, but don't bring some mistakes. And it's what they do, Mohammed, they'll bring those things that you did that were so grave and that really, even for you as a person, you're so remorseful about it. Like, even when did it happen? That's what they bring. And they take you back. We're in 2023. They take you back to 2020. And you're like, really? Really? Did you really have to bring this back? And maybe you've moved on. Even so many things, very good things have come and happened. And you leave that office asking yourself, if this person, this is my boss, they're still in 2020, who are they? Is this really the boss I know? Because it means all these other things that have happened, they still are in their mind, and you're like, you know, so it is very, very frustrating. So I agree with you. It's really pains when you have to be pinned now, you're not given your increment because of something that you did long time ago. And for me, again, I challenge us as HR people, let us create awareness on how to conduct appraisals. Let us train these people and let us embrace what we need to do to ensure that people are appraised accordingly and we don't compromise on our appraisal systems, okay? So thank you for that. So I go to the other one, is one cohesive strategy. You can't afford to approach employee retention half-heartedly. Everything you should do be just as a part of a complete and overreaching strategy. Yeah, it has to be cohesive. And like I said, most of us, when we think about retention, we think about the rewards, we think about the environment, we think about this, but there's some other things that are very key that maybe we never think about. And now, as we come to, we're almost finalizing, I want us to just brainstorm and ask ourselves, when you talk about retention strategy, in case you're drafting, because we're here to learn and help each other, in case you're drafting a retention strategies, which are the key things that we should look at? I open it up to you guys. What are these key things that we need to look at? Over to you guys. You can speak up, you can put on the chat, and I like it when people volunteer. We're looking at employee retention strategy. We've gotten the good talent. So what are these things? Because in case you don't have a retention strategy, it's something you don't want to have in place, right? So what are these strategies can we put in place? Can we embrace so that we have a cohesive strategy that is going to help us retain this good talent? Good, I can see the chats are coming. So keep them coming. In case you want to discuss it up, it's okay, I'll appreciate. So over to you guys. So am I the one who's breaking? I agree. Am I the one who's breaking? I hope I'm clear.
Yes. You're now clear.
Oh, I was breaking.
Yeah, you are breaking.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for that. So maybe I can repeat what I was requesting is that we're talking about retention strategy. And one of the things I said is that retention strategy is more than just the rewards, the work environment. So we're just brainstorming to ask ourselves, once we get this nice talent, what are these things that we need to embrace in our retention strategy? So that's what I'd requested we brainstorm on. I hope now I'm clear now. You've got my question?
Hello?
Yes, please.
Okay, just as you said about integrity, in this retention strategy, I think we should uphold integrity. Whatever we promise the candidate during the recruitment, I think we should honor it, because we find that we are not able to retain these employees because whatever they were promised, when they start working, it's normally not upheld. So we end up losing them. And again, we give them big promises, but immediately they start working, the promises are never fulfilled. So maybe integrity, we should work on that. Yeah.
I agree. We need to work on our integrity. Let us give what we offer during the interview. You go for an interview, you're told these great things, you're like, wow, my goodness, my dream job. Dream come true. You're like, I can't wait. Oh, and to you. When you get there, you're told we review your salary within 3 months. So you go 3 months, 4 months, nobody's communicating to you. There are no objectives. Nobody, you don't even know, So let us keep to our word. And like I always tell people, don't promise what you can't offer. And don't promise what is not in your control. If you know you don't have annual increments, and there's some organizations that are like annual increment is automatic. So you can confidently say that. But when you're not very clear about things, kindly let us put our integrity into real test. Okay, thank you so much for that. Thank you, Dula, telling us training and development, very critical. Everybody wants to grow. Everybody wants to, like things keep on changing every day. Even in HR, things are changing. They used to do things long time, even like recruitment, they used to do recruitment, now has changed. So are people being trained? Do we have short courses? Are people, they develop? Do you have a work-life balance and flexi time? This is a new concept and people are really embracing it. And I tell people one of the things that COVID has come to help in is that people know you can still work from the house and actually work. I find like myself, when I work from the house, I work more than when I'm in the office. So do you have flexi time or you're very rigid? It has to be 8 from 5. It doesn't matter whether you have work or no work. You have to come to the office, Exactly. Emma, organizational culture, very, very important, and values. And especially on the values, the culture is driven by the values. When you talk, most organizations, and I'm sure most of us here, one of our integrity is integrity. One of our values is integrity. But like we said, we don't embrace it. We tell people things, good things. When they come on the board, it's different. So let us live those values. Let us not just have those values for the sake of having the values, but let us values that we mean it, values that we go with. If it is integrity, for real, we drive integrity. If it is teamwork, we have teamwork. We have team activities. Tell people, like you say, people say we are, one of our values is teamwork. But this organization does not have any teamwork activity. They've never even gone for any team building. They don't even go like any staff engagement. They have nothing. So kindly ensure that when you put these values, you're not just putting them because your competitor has them. You're putting them because you believe in them. You're putting them because they identify with your organization. They identify with you people. It is your culture. It is your organization culture as organization A. Your culture. How is your culture, you know? The management style, absolutely. What kind of style is there in management? And I know at times this is always a battle, but you agree with me nowadays, it's very easy, you know, people to embrace. And you see even, maybe even managers, you know, like in the past, you'd find like in most offices, maybe if it's a senior person, they have like 5 secretaries, you know? Nowadays, and you find like a manager doesn't even have a laptop or anything or any computer. But nowadays, you go even to the CEO's office. I'm yet to go to a CEO office of late who doesn't have a laptop, you know? And you see now that way is because you're also embracing this kind of thing. So even the style that you have for management, don't say that this person is wauko kitambo, easy embrace some of these things that we are putting in place. Let us ensure that we have a management style that is embraced in organizational culture. Let's not just say we are a transformational organization, yet your leadership style is so bureaucratic that you can't believe it. Okay, so let's ensure that we don't use these terminologies for the sake of using it. Let us ensure that we embrace them. Thank you. Mental health programs, very important. Nowadays, everybody is battling with mental health. What programs do you have in place to ensure that the mental health is not compromised? Yeah, ensure that you have good mental programs. Ensure, like, maybe if your budget does not allow, partner with organizations that have toll-free numbers that they can be able to give your employees full support 24/7, you know, engage in activities and simple activities. Like, when you have the mental health week, I'll give a very good example. There's a place I went, and during the mental health week, they had activities for the whole week. And the activity I loved most was on Wednesday, people were expressing themselves. And they'd be given these sticker notes. You know, just write about what you feel, you know. And they were sticking, they held those boards and they would stick. And the occupational health and safety team and the HR were going around, just reading them, you know. And people were reading them. And I can tell you, people were able to express themselves. You know, that expression. Then Wednesday, after now, you express yourself. Then now, the next day was appreciation day. So you appreciate you. So like you write and say, I love the way Irene does this. I love the way, you know. And I was being told by that organization, because the HR is a very good friend of mine. And she was telling me that after that, they agreed that as an organization, after every 2 months, they'll be having a mental health week, whereby they're just doing those funny things, you know, people writing, people hugging, like they call it, okay, now people, because of COVID, hugging may not really work, but there are many ways of hugging, of appreciating nowadays. Even in church, we don't greet each other, we do like this or we do like this, whichever we know, just appreciating each other. And because she was even telling that based on that, in fact, there's somebody who wrote something, you know, those on that Wednesday when they were writing, and they said, I just feel like today is my last day on this world. So you can imagine somebody who is very suicidal, you know? And of course, for you as a leader, when you see that has been written, I think it's your responsibility to try and have a way of trying to reach that person, since people are not writing their names. And what they did, they brought in somebody who came and gave a talk on mental awareness or those kind of things. And because on the Friday night, they were having people from external talking to people. And this person came up and they're able to express themselves. And they were even saying they'd even planned, they even bought how they planned to commit suicide and those kind of. So you can imagine how when you talk about mental health, it is real. And the cause of all this was because of a marital issue, you know? So let's not assume that everything is well, because all of us, we are told, research has shown that all of us, me included, all of us have a level, a percentage of a mental challenge. What differs is a percentage and how you manage it. But all of us has that kind of element of having a mental issue. And mental issue is not like, like the person you think a mental issue is somebody who is, you know, but the mental, of course, I understand. We all understand this mental, what we are talking about today, is something that is real, is something that we have to embrace. And any organization that is growing and any organization that is transformational will always have mental health programs. Very, very important. Those activities really help a lot. Thank you, Dula, for that. Is another comment, the management style. I think we've discussed that. Thank you very much. I would recommend a carrot. I'm not able to read that. Okay, I would recommend a tailor-made approach on the retention strategy, align benefits to staff where they matter most. I agree with you. I agree. At times you give benefits that nobody even feels like they're important. So align the benefits to the employees so that they can benefit and feel they're part of it. Okay. Objective and clear cascaded corporate work plan. Absolutely. Let people know what they are doing. Let people know what is expected. Yeah. This is supported by an effective and efficient performance management and appraisal system. Very, very important. If you don't have a good performance management system and appraisal, then it becomes very difficult to manage your KPIs and your objectives. So when you don't have it, I say it happens because people are still doing these things. You just need to formalize it. Yeah, let people formalize, let people know the expectations, take people through the training of how to conduct the appraisals, because that is where at times we lose most of our employees. They go for appraisal, instead of it being appraisal, it's a critic. You know, you're supposed to do this, you didn't do this. Nobody tells them that you're supposed to have done this by first month. You're there knowing this activity is open. Are you very specific? And that's when you come to the smartness of setting objectives. Are they smart, you know? But you can only do that when you have a very efficient and effective performance management system. Thank you so much, Juliana, for that. Talked about the management style. Organize for fun days and team building programs. Very important, because you get to see people on the other side. People get to have fun, you know, and it has been proven by research. I may not have the metrics right now, the data, that every time after an organization goes for a team building, that month, in most organizations, that is the highest performing month. And that's why you find like most organizations will always have quarterly team building activities, because you're re-energized, you know, and especially you have those nice facilitators who know how to really make fun, and you do an activity, you realize, what did you learn from that? And when you go back in the office, you're using those examples. By the time that fire is burning down, you go back for another activity, you know? And what happens is, these are people are always hyped up, and you'll be like, wow, this team is always, it's not automatic. You have to invest. And that's at times we as HR, we have a challenge. Okay, it really does on other times. You know the benefit of a team building, but here you are, you're trying to convince the management, the finance, because there's no budget. But at times we look, and that's why you have to now give the scenarios. Like this month we went for the team building. Look at the productivity. What happened? So we really have to sell these things, and these fun days and team building programs, they're awesome. They're excellent. So let us always embrace them. Yeah. Thank you so much, everyone. I think I'm done with the comments. And I believe all of us seated here, we do understand the kind of strategies that we can put to retain people and why we are not being able to retain our talent. So as I close, this is coming to the end of our training today. It's just food for thought that having gone through the strategies of retaining, is that we're told that sometimes a business looks outside for new talent when the potential for the outstanding performance already exists and noticed among the current team. I'm a firm believer of building internally. And if you have a good training and development process, have a very effective and efficient performance management system that is able to pick the top performance, you're able to develop your talent pool from that, trust me, you'll be able to have a wonderful succession plan. And every time you're looking for talent, you look for it internally. Because internal people, I mean, you save so much time, you don't need to train them. They've already embraced themselves in the culture. So all you need to do is that once they move to the next level, you just onboard them to that new position. So my dear colleagues, that is my rider for today. And I really appreciate all of you for everything. Let me see, there's someone who's put something on the chat. Yes, and they've logged in as okay, it's Infinix Note 8i. I think that must be Joyce. They're asking for the notes. And what I want to say is that for the notes, normally you'll get them through the ACHRP website. So once you log in, you have a login, you'll always be able to access them. And also for this training, like I said, it's recorded. So in case there's an area that you'd want maybe to listen, an area that maybe you require clarity, you'll always get it on the website. So we always share them and you can be able to get them on our site. So kindly, I recommend that go to our website. You'll be able to get it once you log in. You have your login credentials, just log in and you'll be able to get all these training materials and even for other trainings, okay? So with that, I want to thank you very, very much. You've been a wonderful, wonderful participant. I've loved the interactions. I've learned a lot from you. And like I said earlier, we learn from each other. And I want to encourage us as we get to this new year, let's continue this spirit of learning and looking for information. So thank you. So I'll open up for any question, for any comments that you may have. It's your time. And I'm also looking at the chat. Wow, wow. Thank you so much, Irene, for the informative session. Thank you, colleagues, as well. Awesome. We are wonderful colleagues. Thank you so much. Great presentation, Irene, and really informative. Thank you so much. Really learned a lot. Thank you, Agri. I also learned a lot from you guys. Thank you. You're a wonderful team. Thank you, Lillian. That was great. I appreciate. Thank you so much, Juliana. Thank you. And everyone else, thank you. I really appreciate and I appreciate all of you, each one of you, for being in this training. And the only thing I would ask is whatever we've picked, let us try and embrace it in our working areas, because that's the way we enjoy what we do. Okay? Okay, I'm looking at the messages. Lovely, yeah. The way to log in has been put on the chat. We've put it on the chat. So kindly have a look at it. And just to remind that out of this series training, we've gotten one CPD point. So in case you have any challenge in terms of accessing the notes, kindly, there's a number that is 0722 300 245, and then we'll be able to assist you. But how to log in to get the notes is well articulated, plus your certificate for this training. So guys, thank you so much for the wonderful comments. I really appreciate. It feels nice to be appreciated. And I also want to appreciate you all. And even our dear friend Lillian in Kampala, thank you so much. You see the power of the internet or the power of technology. We're able to even have people within the East African region. We are spreading our wings. So let us let's keep on spreading the good news, and let's continue interacting, and let's continue engaging in our trainings so that we can continue earning and getting more knowledge. So in case there's no question, I want to wish you all a wonderful weekend. And once again, thank you very much. So are we good? Thank you. Yeah, God bless you all. Thank you, Titus. Be blessed you. So we can live at our own pleasure, and hope to see you again next time. Thank you. Yes, David, look forward to seeing you. Kindly keep on following us. We always advertise on the programs that we have upcoming. We also have an annual program, which you can be able to have a look and see where you fit and you book in advance. Thank you. Also, for those ones who are still logging, ensure you subscribe on our YouTube channel and be able to follow this training and other trainings that have been conducted. Okay. Thank you, guys. Thank you. I love the messages. Thank you very much.
Hi, Irene.
Yes, Dan.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, and you?
Fine, fine, fine. Thank you. Thank you for that very nice presentation.
Thank you so much, Dan.
Yeah, so